year.
Yeah.
And Victor Wembanyama, the face of the NBA, is going to take an extension at the rookie pay scale?
Victor Wembanyama just gave up millions of dollars. Think about that. The best young player in basketball, fresh off a run to the NBA Finals, sat down with the San Antonio Spurs and said no to extra money. Nobody made him do it. The cash was right there. He pushed it away. The NBA world stopped and stared. Fans wanted answers. Front offices everywhere took notice. When Wemby finally spoke, his words showed exactly what kind of player and what kind of winner he wants to be. This was no accident. This was a message. Stick around, because once you hear why he did this, you will see how it could change the whole future of the Spurs. First, you need to know who Wembanyama is. When San Antonio won the draft lottery in 2023, there was no debate. Everyone agreed. The Spurs had landed the most special player to enter the league in years. Standing 7'4", he moved like a guard. He could shoot threes, work in the post, and still fly back on defense to block shots and guard every position. He wasn't just a good prospect, he was something new. Scouts ran out of words to describe him. Some called him a unicorn. Others said even that wasn't enough. He was simply different from anyone before him. From day one, he knew where he wanted to be. On draft night, he talked about tacos and learning Spanish, sure, but mostly he talked about winning. He said the Spurs meant winning. He said he felt lucky the Spurs got that pick, not for the city, but for the culture, the championship banners, and the years of doing things the right way. He said it like a man who had studied the franchise, like someone who already knew where he belonged. This wasn't luck, this was a plan. And he backed it up fast. 3 straight seasons leading the league in blocks, 3rd in MVP voting, the only unanimous Defensive Player of the Year ever. He averaged 25 points, 11.5 boards, 3 blocks, and a steal a night, shooting over 50%. He led San Antonio to 62 wins, then dragged them through a brutal 7-game war with Oklahoma City, winning Conference Finals MVP with 27 points and 11 boards a game. That sent the Spurs to their first final since 2014. They lost to New York in 5 games, but nobody doubted what San Antonio had. Wemby put up 26 points, 11 boards, and 3.5 blocks a night in that series. Victor Wembanyama is the face of the NBA now. He told Nike executives he wasn't going to let basketball choose who that face would be. He was going to be it. He was right. So when contract talks began this summer, everyone expected a simple deal. Give him the max, get it signed, move on. And that's exactly what the Spurs offered. According to ESPN's Shams Charania, San Antonio put the full supermax on the table in several different forms. They wanted him to get every dollar. Talks went on for weeks. In the end, Wemby signed a 5-year deal worth $252 million with a player option in year 5. That number sounds huge because it is huge, but the real story isn't what's in the deal, it's what's missing. Here's the twist. What he signed was a standard 25% rookie max deal. But under the league's rules, winning an MVP, making All-NBA, or winning Defensive Player of the Year opens the door to a bigger deal, a supermax starting at 30% of the cap instead of 25%. Wemby won Defensive Player of the Year unanimously. That door was wide open. The Spurs offered it, he shut it himself. ESPN's Bobby Marks says the gap between the two deals adds up to about $51 million over 5 years. His first-year pay lands at $43.5 million. With the Supermax, it would have been near $52 million. Multiply that gap across 5 years, and you see just how much he walked away from. This wasn't a small choice. It was $51 million gone on purpose. So why? Why would the best player alive, only 22, with his whole career ahead, turn down guaranteed money? Most players don't ask this question. They take the biggest number and let the front office sort out the rest. That's how it usually works. Wemby broke that pattern. Charania reported that Wembanyama chose a real sacrifice, on purpose, to give himself and the team more room to build a true contender. There's that word, sacrifice. This wasn't a mistake, it was a philosophy. Wemby didn't want more money, he wanted more help. He watched the Knicks celebrate a title on his own home floor. He walked off thinking about one thing only, making sure that never happens again. He knew the smartest move wasn't a bigger paycheck, it was a scarier roster. To get why that matters, you need to understand the salary cap. Teams that spend past certain lines get punished hard. Cross the luxury tax, you pay extra for every dollar. Cross the second apron, and things get brutal. Teams up there can't combine contracts and trades and get stuck with almost no way to improve. That $51 million gap doesn't just disappear, it flows through the whole roster for years. Every dollar saved up top can go toward another star, another piece, another shot at a ring. Think about what that money really means. It's the difference between keeping a great role player or losing him in free agency. It's the difference between staying flexible or getting buried under the league's toughest cap rules. In today's NBA, $51 million of room isn't small, it's roster changing, and Wemby just handed it to San Antonio. The Spurs have big bills coming. De'Aaron Fox is already locked into a deal paying him near $50 million a year down the road. Stephon Castle, who put up 16 points, 5 boards, and 7 assists last year, is up for a new deal next summer. Dylan Harper, picked second overall in 2025, is eligible in 2028. Both are expected to want max money. Stack all that together and the math gets tight fast. Every dollar Wemby freed up now could be the difference between keeping this whole young core or losing pieces of it later. His pay cut isn't kindness, it's strategy. He's building the foundation for a dynasty before his career has really started. People keep comparing this to Jalen Brunson, and it fits. Brunson took a smaller deal with the Knicks in 2024, 4 years and $156.5 million instead of waiting for a bigger 5-year, $269 million deal. That discount let New York trade for OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. Brunson became the third highest paid guy on his own championship team. Most stars never accept that. He gave up over $100 million in future earnings and trusted his new teammates would make it worth it. He was right. The Knicks won it all, and Brunson took home the ring and Finals MVP with 45 points in the clincher. Nobody questions that move now. Brunson understood something big. Sometimes your own paycheck and your team's success pull in opposite directions. He picked his team. Wemby watched that title celebration from the losing side. He saw what that kind of sacrifice can build. Now he's doing the same thing, younger, with more time to make it pay off. But the real comparison in San Antonio isn't Brunson, it's Tim Duncan. What Wemby is doing echoes Duncan across 19 seasons in San Antonio. In 2012, Duncan slashed his own pay from over $21 million to just $9.5 million so the Spurs could keep their core and add more talent. 3 years later, he signed for just $10.4 million over 2 years. That move let San Antonio sign LaMarcus Aldridge to a max deal, keep Danny Green, and bring in David West. Duncan was a Hall of Famer with 5 rings, earning around $5 million a year at the end of his career, because winning mattered more than money. Nobody looks back and questions that. What made it powerful wasn't just the dollars, it was the culture it built. When the best player puts winning first, everyone follows. Aldridge took less to come. Green stayed for less. West gave up $11 million just to chase a title in San Antonio. That culture took years to build. Now Wemby is carrying it forward. He's not just following tradition, he's building on it. At 22, before he's won a single ring, before he spent 10 years in the league, he's doing it now because he already knows what Duncan knew. Winning takes everybody pulling the same way, starting at the top. He didn't stumble into this culture by accident, he chose it. On draft night in 2023, he said the Spurs meant winning. He said he felt lucky it was San Antonio that got that pick, not for the city, for the winning history behind those 5 championship banners. After beating Oklahoma City in a grueling 7-game series, he called winning a championship the meaning of his life. Those exact words. Most 22-year-olds don't talk like that. Wemby always has. After losing the finals to New York, he called it the biggest lesson of his life. He said the margin for error up there is razor thin and mistakes get punished hard. He broke it all down calmly, already thinking about how to be better. Not about money, about winning. He's told French media it's his dream to play his whole career in one place, right here in San Antonio. The day his deal was done, he posted 7 words: "Spurs family, I'm here to stay, whatever it takes." He meant it. The reaction across the league was instant. People praised the move as rare maturity, especially for someone so young. Sports Illustrated called it a selfless move that handed San Antonio real flexibility. Bleacher Report pointed out how key those cap savings will be when it's time to pay Castle and Harper. Spurs fans, who hadn't felt this kind of hope in years, celebrated hard, not just because their star is staying, but because he's staying on terms that help build something real around him. His post blew up everywhere.
Whatever it takes hit different because everyone knew he'd just backed it up with 51 million real dollars. There's a fair counterpoint here too. Some experts question whether any athlete should give up guaranteed money since careers can end in an instant. Wemby already missed time in year 2 with a blood clot scare. Injuries don't wait for permission. Giving up guaranteed cash always carries risk. But Wemby weighed that risk and made his choice anyway, based on what he actually values. He's betting on himself, on staying healthy, staying dominant, and one day making this sacrifice look like the smartest move of his career. The NBA right now has no dynasty. 8 straight seasons, 8 different champions. Nobody has built what the old Spurs or the Warriors once had. Part of that is the new rules making it harder for rich teams to just spend their way to titles. Part of it is how deep every roster is now. But the teams that stay relevant are the ones using every dollar of cap space wisely. The Knicks won because Brunson's discount gave them room to trade. The Spurs now have that same room because Wemby just did the same thing, in an era where every roster decision matters more than ever. A star player choosing to earn less isn't just a nice story, it's a real edge. And the team best built to use that edge has been doing this since the 1990s. Rings are how greatness gets measured in this league. Winning takes the right team around you. The legends without rings are warnings, not role models. Charles Barkley never won one. Karl Malone never won one. Chris Paul never won one despite 2 decades as one of the best point guards ever. Nobody doubts their talent, but no ring always colors the story. It's the first thing people bring up and the last thing people forget. Wemby is doing everything he can so that story never gets told about him. He's putting his money where his mouth is. He's 22, he's the best player alive, and he just turned down $51 million because he knows the cash was never the real prize. The ring is the prize. It always has been. Every choice he makes, including this one, points at that single goal. That's not normal for a 22-year-old. That's not normal at any age. Combine that mindset with his talent, man, it's easy to believe the Spurs could win more than one title before this era ends. One more thing worth noting. He's doing this at 22, not at 35 when a pay cut barely matters, not after already winning titles that would soften the blow. He's doing it at the very start, before real financial safety kicks in. That takes a different kind of belief than what Duncan showed near the end of his career. It takes real guts to look at $51 million and say no. Charania reported his reasoning was about building a team that can win for years, not just one shot. Wemby isn't thinking about next season. He's thinking about the next 10 years, about who's standing beside him when San Antonio finally lists that trophy again. That's the scale he's thinking on, and that's why everyone's watching. By the end of this offseason, what Wembanyama did will be talked about in San Antonio for a long time. He had the Supermax sitting right there. He turned it down, choosing instead a deal that gives his team room to build the roster he needs to finish what he started this past June. He could have kept that extra $51 million, and nobody would have blamed him. That's what players usually do. Instead, he looked at the bigger picture, at the pieces still needed, at the title still waiting to be won, and made the exact kind of call the greatest franchise in modern basketball would recognize instantly. He walked out of that finals press conference already looking ahead toward the next game, the next challenge, the thing he's called the meaning of his life. The ring hasn't come yet, but watch how he's setting up the next 5 years while most guys his age are still figuring things out, and it gets very hard to bet against him. By giving up $51 million, Wembanyama's betting San Antonio gets everything it needs to go get the one thing he actually wants. Drop your thoughts below. Do you think he made the right call? And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because this Spurs story with Wembanyama is going to be one of the biggest in the league for years to come. You don't want to miss what happens next.